Hello, welcome to Strictly Seattle Sports. Charles Hamaker with you, Rowan Schaberg. I used to say Schaberg, which is
Oh, great.
completely
Thanks.
wrong. Yeah, well, I don't think I ever said it on the show. I think we all just said Rowan. Um, I am not in an ideal recording situation. I am at T-Mobile Park here. I can actually show you. I think I can show the people. Yeah, the ballpark's behind me with my terrible computer camera. I'm calling into this, so that's why this sounds bad. But it's a pretty strong day for UW Bruins basketball in terms of transfers. So I wanted to talk to Rowan, and I had texted Rowan. Was it yesterday or the day before? It was sometime this past weekend. I was like, "Hey, what the hell is Washington doing in the
It was
transfer
just
portal?"
yesterday,
Like,
actually.
it was okay because as we've talked about on the Husky Women's Hoop Show, right? Like, I think we're all pretty excited about the direction of the program, with the players in hand, the momentum of the program itself, the recruiting classes. But the front court was always going to be a giant question mark. Yes, taking up and Rowan's heard me complain about it and worry about it before, but with Washington, like again, there's so many things that I felt positively about with the program, except for what the hell they were going to do in the front court. Because I know Bryn McGoy is coming in right as a forward, and Nina Kane is coming in as a forward in this upcoming class. But for one, they're freshmen, so it's there's no guarantees there. I never want to put guarantees, and there's no clear like who you're playing at the five or in that role, right? Who's going to be able to, especially in the Big Ten, who is going to guard those players. And before I get to, I don't know if I want to say that, but maybe the player with the higher transfer portal ranking, Yulia Grabovskaia, I believe is the name. We will get that correct if it's not. From Michigan. So you do get, and this is something that I asked Rowan because I was going to say Rowan is, not for us, but for something else that she does, does a ton of stuff with the transfer portal. And so I was like, hey, what the hell is happening? Like, I need something because, after again, the year that the Huskies had to get into the tournament, and I didn't like, I was going to say something after because what Gino said about how the UConn lost a preseason game to Columbia.
They lost a
I
they
was
lost
like,
a
hey,
it was a closed scrimmage to Columbia.
close scrimmage. I was like, so basically, the Huskies lost to a team better than UConn is what I'm hearing. Uh, no.
So basically they won the
So,
national championship.
this is it's a championship celebration show. I don't know. No. I'm just thinking like Ella Dean posing like the net around her neck. Um, but yeah, like I had to figure there was a positive momentum around the program, so that would mean that players would want to come here, right, if they wanted a new situation. And given the history of the transfer portal for Washington, they don't really get a lot of in-conference like Big Ten transfers. So like Ron and I, at least Ron was thinking it, and like it made sense to me. Like they probably weren't going to do that. And then Grabovskaia comes in. I was like, oh, it was certainly interesting to wake up to
Well, I
because
mean,
I mean that's
sorry, not to interrupt you. Yesterday, when we were talking about it, I think I was saying, what we saw last season, or at least coming into, this season, was that the only people that they got from the transfer portal were two mid-major players, and, Tyra Eke and Brett
mm,
McDonald, who were not
yeah,
stand out in their conferences and necessarily on their teams. So I think I was saying that yesterday when we were when we were talking about this, which was very coincidental. I think I was saying I would hope that people, that seeing how well they did in the UW did in the Big Ten, and also getting back to the tournament, I was hoping that there would be some in-conference transfers in a way that there hasn't been before. So I guess when we were talking about it,
mm,
I guess there was more of a likelihood of getting some in-conference transfers when we were like when I said that yesterday, but definitely from what we've seen in the past, that has not been something that Washington has
yeah.
had.
So when I saw the Michigan logo, I was like, what the hell? Like, it's just interesting because this is another, I think, similar situation, and a little bit Tyreke. It's like more of a
Mm-hmm.
traditional center, if I'm correct, right? And someone who's got a year of eligibility left. Like, I don't know. Like I was very instantly happy alone to at least see some help in the front court because again, if you, I don't think they were going to, but if you had gone into the season with just McGoy and Kane as your forwards, that that's gonna be tough, especially dealing with who you'd have to deal with in the Big Ten. So, what do you know about Yulia and what she'll be able to help Washington do? Because I kept thinking, I've been thinking about this all day now.
Yeah.
Is like what the hell the lineup will look like because I think it was the Indiana game where they went with the four guards and then the big and basically just Delia Daniels. It's not really, it's just Delia Daniels.
Right.
Yeah, so just Grabovskaia and then how she'll help Washington going into the 25-26 season, which feels weird to say.
Yeah, I mean, I had some great conversations with some people, some Husky fans on Twitter after the news broke, and we were talking about the starting lineup possibilities, and it is interesting to see. Well, I guess first I'll touch on Yulia. I did some research, some very brief research, and yeah, she averaged 5.3 points per game, 4 rebounds per game this past season with Michigan. She had 6 double-figure games. From the little that I watched of Michigan and know of Michigan, I know that their guards were really productive offensively. Their freshman guards, I believe, maybe Silas Swords as a forward. But I know that there was a lot of offensive production from other places. So I'm not really sure if she was kind of given more of an offensive load, if she would be able to produce in that way. But I mean, 6 double-figure games is, pretty good in a 40-game season. She played at Middle Tennessee State for a year. I believe she didn't get much playing time there. But, I mean, honestly, I think that when we talked about at the end of the season with DeLea leaving, Washington has a lot of really strong guards, which we'll get to later with a new strong guard that's there. But I think that because of that, offensively, the center or the post doesn't need to be a super strong offensively, and so it seems like if that's kind of what her role was at Michigan, obviously they got far in the Big Ten tournament. They got decently far in the NCAA tournament. So I think that will be a really good add, even if she doesn't do much offensively. I think she'll just be really helpful to just have some height in there. So again, I don't know much about her, but I'm really excited to see what she will bring. And I think that it's a really good fit. And we talked about just needing height at UW, and that seems to have been taken care of, which is awesome.
Yeah, and like I need to say before we continue, like so no one's not like, what about so and so? Like, yes, Olivia Anderson is technically still on the roster, right? Like as far as we're aware, I know she missed a good chunk of the season due to injury. But like you want an anchor in the paint, I would say. And I always feel weird talking about athletes like this, but Olivia is kind of a smaller forward. In a way, not as a small forward, but a smaller in size forward. And like, against the Big Ten, you don't want to get run over, just out muscled. And I don't think you're going to have to worry about that with Grabovskaia on the floor,
right.
So,
but also, you need more than 2 bigs, right? Like I'm like, so you just had all 3. I mean, that was a huge point of conversation, at least between us at the end was like, so the 3 seniors that you're honoring on senior day are all bigs, and they're your only bigs outside of your injured big. So, I think Washington will take anything at this point, and this is she's a great option.
Oh yeah. And I was gonna say, like, even with Olivia, like I think it was our other host on the Husky Women's Hoop Show and Bella mentioned Olivia Anderson, just whenever she would get on the court, it was foul trouble. Like she might have some fun minutes, but she would get into foul trouble, and then it essentially just sort of negated her impact, right? So that's not something I want to have to rely on. Olivia could come out and have a great year next year, but like I would rather overcompensate now, get players now that will help me, that I know can help me, as opposed to relying on a what if, right?
Right.
Do you want to look at anything else with Grabovskaia before we keep moving?
I mean, if we wanted to talk lineups a little bit, like I said, I
Okay.
had. Oh, actually, let's wait. Let's wait on that. Let's talk about the second
I
person,
was
and
gonna
then we'll
say,
move there.
so yeah, because that's actually something I was thinking about when we were talking about, you were talking about guards. Because someone listed the starting five, and then they had her in the paint, and I was like, let's be careful there. With Avery Howell, Boise, Idaho native. I think I was looking up because with these graphics, we didn't have someone at the USC game, so I didn't have photos of Avery Howell. Had to go look for him, and I looked on Twitter for some reason, and I thought her. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I'm gonna go back and look at this when I read about it, but I believe in her initial commitment, she had UW as a top option.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
So
know that.
I'll have to go and look at that again. But Avery Howell, she was a freshman last year at USC. She's going to come in and be a sophomore here at Washington. So she's going to have a few years, ideally, which would be nice. It was just really interesting to see her. And then, is it Kaylee Heckle?
Yeah, Kaylee Heckle.
I want to make sure I got the name wrong. Right. I just remember playing USC, and I was like, who is this little point guard? Like, leave me alone. Go into the transfer portal, and not really someone I had on my radar, just given what Washington has in terms of guards and wings, right? This seems pretty decently significant, right? Because I think ESPN had her listed as the 18th best player in the transfer portal. Seems like she's going to be another great option, for a Washington team that can shoot the hell out of the ball. What can you tell me about Avery Howell, and then we can get into lineups, because someone had her, and I want to clarify it, because the initial announcement with Talia Goodman said guard. There were some USC sites that I saw that said small forward. I want to clear. We'll get into lineups, but I was like, I don't there's a distinction here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just saw Avery Howell play in Spokane I guess that was just last weekend. I was in Spokane for the Elite Eight Sweet 16, and so I got to see her. And so when the news broke that she had entered the portal, I was just shocked. I was like, I just saw you. I actually feel very familiar with her game. I watched a lot of USC this season, and I'll brag a little bit, because just a couple days ago I was joking with someone like, oh, if she wanted to move closer to home, UW would be a great option. So I should have gone with my gut there. I shouldn't have just joked about it. But I think that it's a great fit. Honestly, I think it's a huge testament to Tina Langley's recruiting, which we've talked about before. You have Bryn McGoy, who I believe I just looked is 21st in the country, and Avery and Bryn played together on the AAU circuit. So I think that that's also huge. I'm sure that that was probably part of of recruiting Avery. It's interesting when we talk about Washington being a very strong guard team to add another very strong guard. Just for some stats, she averaged 7.5 points per game. This season, she shot 43% from the field and 39% from three, which is huge. She, averaged 7.5 points next to one of the highest, the leaders in the country in Juju Watkins. So, I've really enjoyed watching Avery play this season. She has a great 3-point shot. She has really great court awareness. I think honestly, she reminds me of a lot of the players that already play for Washington, which is the only thing that's a little bit interesting. But as I think about it more, she reminds me a bit of an El Ladine. That's kind of, I could see a comparison there. So anyway, I think that it's a really great get. I think it's great. I know that she has family in British Columbia, so I think that was she played for the Canadian national team, so she has some international experience as well. I think that she really showed, especially in the Sweet 16 game when it was USC's first game without Juju Watkins, she had 18 points, I believe. So she really stepped up. She was second leading scorer in that game. So anyway, I have nothing but positive things to say about Avery, especially just after her being a freshman. I think that coming into a new program as a sophomore and a program that also I think is going to look very different in the coming years with a Bryn McGoy and of course, with Delia Daniels graduating, it's just going to be a little bit of a different identity, I think. But you still have a lot of the really strong pieces. So I think that she's going to be really great for Washington offensively. I think she's also great defensively. And I think that it's going to be great. And then if we're talking about lineups a little bit, again, like I said, guard heavy team. So it's kind of interesting to get a recruit that has been such a strong guard in the conference, in the country. But I think that, knowing Tina Langley, I mean, she was not 100% set on one lineup all season. I wrote this down, you have the four main starters that started every single game in Elle Ladine, Savia Sellers, Delia Daniels, Hannah Steins, and then 20 games of the season, Tyra Eke started, and 13 games this season, Chloe Briggs started. So, when she wanted the smaller lineup, she went with the Chloe Briggs. When she wanted a bigger lineup, she'd go with Tyra Eke. And I think that we could see the same thing this year. Someone pointed out on Twitter that you could play Hannah Steins at the 4, Avery at the 3, Bryn McGoy at the 5 if you wanted something a little bit smaller with obviously Elle and Savia. Or if you wanted something a little bit bigger, you could do, Savia, Elle, Avery, Hannah at 3, Bryn at 4, and Yulia at 5, depending on what we see. So I think we're going to see a lot of playing around with the lineups at the beginning. But I think with Avery and Hannah, if that's kind of the either or, I think that they're both pretty good options.
It'll be interesting. Seeing Tina go into that sort of smaller ball lineup, I was like, oh, I had grown so used to penciling in the same lineup every single day. And at least someone we talked to was for sure that Bryn McGoy will be starting this year. And I was like, hey, I think I said it earlier, I don't like to put guarantees on anybody, especially with freshmen, but to get that sort of endorsement, and just watching her again at the McDonald's All-American game a few days ago, seeing the toughness, again, you're going up against some of the best players in the nation, right? So there was no back down, and her sort of 3-level scoring still translate in a game like that where it's best on best, that maybe put some more confidence in me to not be worried about her coming in as a freshman. With Bryn McGoy, as we're talking about a transfer portal show, basically. It'll be interesting, to see how the lineup eventually shapes up, because, I felt throughout the course of the season that it was if you didn't have Savia Sellers on her game or Elle Ladine, you were kind of screwed, because, Delia would do her thing. Delia was misconsistent for you, but relying on one player, especially in the post, is a dangerous thing. And it just felt like Washington needed more. And occasionally Chloe Briggs would give you something. Tegan Brown had moments here and there. I think this just gives you kind of another certainty, another more, kind of tough to say this because it feels almost judgmental, but another more reliable option, right? Because again, Hannah Steins would have her games as well, but not all the time. I didn't know, banking on Chloe Briggs coming into this year to be a consistent starter, it could work out. I mean, we've all seen what she did and why she was brought to Washington, but it hasn't necessarily translated yet, right? So, I just think this helps give you this, not only will help your obvious starters, but I think it'll impact your depth because it pushes Chloe back to the bench, essentially, I would imagine. I don't know if Tina's cooking here. I didn't think she was cooking Avery Howell, but here we are. And you still got a Devin Coppinger that I was very high on. Is going to have another year under her belt. And also, yeah, I could look at that as well. Like you've got what Savia's going to be a junior this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 2 years of Savia left,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've got a few years of
Well,
Avery.
including this coming season. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I was like,
Yes, 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 yes. Just give her another one. Like
eligibility
I
is
think
really hard.
we. Oh no, that's what I'm saying too. It's like I want to make like because I was texting Rowan about Grabovskaia. I was like, she should be a senior, right? Because at least Michigan had her listed, and you never know with the years and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just so much. Um, so no, I don't know. I think unless you've got anything else, like at the end of the day, like these are two really solid pickups for
Mm-hmm.
Washington, and they all happen within a few hours of each other.
Yeah.
Which is exciting to see because I know we have some fans who are like they would add us and they're like, hey, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, are they doing anything? Because you can roll your eyes. I understand. The men's team was doing some stuff and they seem to be retooling. Rowan
Whatever.
smirks. And people were like, so where is like Tina? What's going on? Can we
Yeah.
spend some of this money here for the more successful program? So I don't know. It's a start. I would imagine there's like maybe a little more, right? Not a ton,
I
because I
would
mean you
think
got most of your
so.
roster.
I mean, I think too, like when you get again, I would like to think that getting a recruit like Bryn McGoy, not only because she and Avery are, are friends, but also just, having a five-star recruit coming to your program, I'm sure that that helps recruitment. And I think that now having, someone who, I mean, I think that Avery's, even her stats aside, everything aside, just her choosing Washington, I think holds a lot of weight. She's coming from a team that made the Elite Eight without Juju Watkins for part of it. And so saying that to say that, it's a really strong team all around. And so I think that her choosing to, leave a program like that and come to Washington just in itself is really big. So I'd like to think that their tournament run, like, Washington's tournament run, and also just I think that it seems like in the conference, if we're just going off of Avery and Yulia, I mean, it seems like people could feel, at least we could, as media, we could feel the genuine love and care and mutual just appreciation that the players had for the coaching staff, and I think that feels like it's really showing through, and I feel like I'm sure that that has helped a lot. And so I think that really what I really like about it is just that I feel like it's a really big testament to the growth that the program has had. And I think that, I'm sure that obviously it was disappointing for Washington to lose in the first four for the team, but I'm sure that they are happy now that it seems like just making the tournament got them some more attention. And again, there's still good things to look back on the season at this point. And so, yeah, I don't think that they're done in the portal. And I think that if we see what they did, if we look at what they did last season, with two mid-major players coming in when there wasn't a lot to back up the program, I would like to think that that's going to continue. And yeah, we've talked a lot about their bench this past season, and I think that beefing up the bench a little bit should definitely be on their to-do list. But yeah.
All that makes me think is like it's further like heightens my excitement for this program because again, like as people who were there from game one, like in
Mm-hmm.
Seattle U, right, Rowan,
Mm-hmm.
like see like how much excitement there was, like, with Savia from day one and what she can do with the basketball and how she got some attention in the Big Ten tournament and in the Columbia game. Um, I know I hyped on it all year long, especially as we got into tournament talk, but how well they played some of the very best teams in the
Mm-hmm.
country. And they
Yep.
were just a layup at the very end
Yep.
away,
Mm-hmm.
from beating these teams. The recruiting classes that they're stacking, because we talked a lot about Bryn McGoy, but there's Bryn Martin with one less N,
Mm-hmm.
BRY. Nina Kane. I keep forgetting about Sienna Harvey
Mm.
out of Australia,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Thank you for
these,
reminding me of
like
those ones.
strong. There's so much, like, it feels like there's so much momentum around Washington. And like you said, to have, like, Michigan's a strong program.
Yeah.
Have a because if I'm correct, Michigan beat Washington in the Big Ten tournament.
Yep.
So you've got a Michigan player and a US2, like you said, choosing Washington.
Yeah.
There just seems to be so much momentum, as Tim Booth, not Central Washington, Tim. There just seems to be so much momentum for this program, and it's really exciting. Like, I kind of hate that we're in April, because I want to be back at Heck Ed. I need to be back and see this. We need to talk to Tina, and and yeah. So I'm excited. But all right, we'll wrap this up. We both had things to do, but we wanted to come on here and talk about this because it's exciting, and no one else really talks about it but us. So we wanted to be consistent in doing that. So yeah, we're gonna. I've had a hectic past few weeks. So have Rowan and Bella. Doing other things. So we're going to try to get back into the cycle of things. And I'm hoping next week we can get it like a full show on, and I'm not sitting here on my phone talking to you and I look all fuzzy. So we'll work on that. But yeah, it's exciting stuff for Washington. And even then, in terms of Seattle hoops, like, the draft for the Storm is next week.
Yes,
there's a TV over there with TNT on, and Olivia Miles is on the TV, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's okay. Dominique Malonga. Like, it's fine. But anyway, yeah, we'll get out of here. So anyway, Toby, Nate, see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Do whatever you can to make today great.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about them Huskies?
Ooh, purple and gold, baby.
Yeah. When are you going to watch all those away games, though?
All those away games. There are a lot of them, and I was hoping to come to Rough and Tumble because this is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. If that's okay with you.
I think that's a great idea. Hope to see you all here.